High Plains Technology Center, turning education and training into workplace success.
Oh, back to school, to prove to Dad that I'm not a fool.
High Plains Technology Center, education at the speed of business. School is now in session.
All right, here we are Wednesday morning. Taylor Burnett, High Plains Technology Center, back on KWFX. After a long week break, we thought we wouldn't do the radio show, but we wanted, even though we had people, probably our busiest week, actually, at the for the safety side of things going on at the school. But here we are back. Doesn't feel like spring yet. Felt like spring more last week, but I brought on a guest. So those that don't know, we have our sending schools, of course. I always want to have our sending schools have a voice in this and everything, and Katie sent it out, and we had our first taker to all the area superintendents on who wanted to come onto the radio show and talk about things. I'm going to let him introduce himself because, I'm kind of a little bit starstruck right now, so, but no. Go ahead and introduce our special guest is...
Rusty Puffinbarger, Superintendent of Woodward Schools. And Taylor, I've heard you called a lot of things in the last few months, but never starstruck.
I know, you're right.
That's it's new for you.
No, so it's exciting times with Woodward, and just so I just want to throw this out there. I today am, yes, speaking on High Plains Technology part, but I today am also speaking on a citizen of Woodward. I am speaking as a Woodward High School parent. I am speaking of a husband that is involved with the Woodward Public Schools as well. And I'm speaking on the economic development side of things when it comes to things. And so what we're going to talk about, if we have more time, we might talk a little bit about other things. But we're really wanting to talk about is what's coming up next week, correct?
Yes, a week from yesterday.
Yeah, so a week from yesterday, we have a big thing coming up. So I'm going to let Rusty. I'm going to just call you. Go ahead, call you. I'm not going to call you Mr. or Superintendent or anything. You wouldn't expect
I require
anything.
no formal.
Okay, I'm going to let Rusty go ahead and talk about what's coming up next week with the bond issue.
So next Tuesday it will be a bond election for a $5 million transportation bond that will be used to purchase buses, vehicles. That's primary purpose is to transport students. That'll include route buses, activity buses, SUVs, ag pickups, vehicles like that. But it'll be a 5-year, $5 million bond. It will not increase people's taxes. It'll roll on the end of a bond issue that was passed in 2013. I've been around talking about this at several community groups and
a ton, I would imagine.
And a lot. I'm excited about the positivity that's coming from the conversation. Just people that are excited about Woodward, excited about not just where we're headed with this transportation bond, but I think where we're headed overall. So it's really is an exciting time, and I don't know. I'm fortunate to get to be part of it.
This is exciting because I think you hit on something that people probably don't know. How much are their taxes going to go up if this passes?
Their taxes will not increase because of the rolling off of previous bonds. Taylor, I will have to say, though, because at one of the town hall meetings that we had, I was asked a great question. The question was that I'm selling this to people that it will not raise their taxes, and that is true. But what happens if this does not pass? How much will my taxes go down? Which is a great question because there is a cost. It is a tax. It's not a tax increase, but it is a tax. So we're asking people to support our school and our community through their money. But so the example is that if you have a $1,000 tax burden for your property taxes and this does not pass, your property tax will go down to $968.99. So you will have saved $31.01 for the year.
For the year.
Yep. That is the cost. So
I'm going to first put on my economic development hat. If those of you don't understand, I feel like High Plains is an economic development driver. We're very involved. I have been lucky enough to go to a lot of classes, a lot of courses, a lot of different town halls and things across the state talking about economic development. Folks, let me tell you, the first thing in economic development, the first thing anybody comes to, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a business that's going to employ 50 people, whether it's a business going to employ 800 people, what do you think the first thing that they look at? Rusty, what do you think?
I think they want to know about the school in your community.
School. There you go. That's the number one thing. Then that's a driver for things that are being attracted to our community. It is the number one choice. It also, if you talk about healthcare, it is the number one choice with that as well. So there's no way you can recruit. There's no way you can retain without things like that. So there you go. I'm now going to put on my dad hat. I have a daughter. She is involved at Woodward High School. She's been on buses before. What do you think that has happened?
You know, there's a lot of stories about one of the boomer buses being on the side of the road and needing another bus to come get them.
Yep.
So it is a challenge. You know, we had that happen the week before spring break with a group of middle school kids that gone to Oklahoma City that were broke down on the side of the road in El Reno. And, you know, they do maybe create some fun stories or we laugh about things, but you're also talking about a safety issue when you have a busload of kids on I-40 getting off of the broke down bus to get onto a bus that take them to the right place. But, you know, back to the first statement you were talking about being the economic development driver. I mean, I think it's even bigger than that for me. And this is bigger than this bond issue. I think it's the responsibility of the school district to create programs, whether that be academic programs, extracurricular programs, anything we're doing. I think it's the responsibility of the school to create programs that people are attracted to, and that you know, you want to attract outside people to Woodward, but you also want to give families here opportunities to do all the things that they want to do for their kids. I think you want to create situations just like you, Taylor, where you want people to come back, to bring their families, to raise their families in Northwest Oklahoma, which I think, I don't know. I know I don't have to sell Northwest Oklahoma to most of the people that are listening, but you do want your school to reflect all the great things about the community, and that's what we're trying to do. Love
that message, because that should be paramount with things. And, you know, we do joke about things with the buses breaking down, but folks, you can go on the internet and you can search horrific things that have happened at times. We are lucky to have a school system that if that does happen, they are very proactive, because there are some schools. In fact, the news just hit this 2 weeks ago. Putnam City bus broke down. Guess what they'd made the students do? Walk home. So, you know, not throwing Putnam City under the bus, so to speak, but, you know, we are very blessed with that capabilities, and we just want. I get a little bit upset when I hear people say, "I don't have any kids in the school system. Why do I need to do this?" Why don't you look inside your heart to say, okay, at $1,000, you know, property tax, I'm only going to save $31. Is that worth a kid's life? I don't know. I would assume so. You know, we teach safety and how important things can be and how paramount the right situation is. This is one of those situations.
And I think beyond that, too, I think we want to create a school system that community members are proud of, whether you have kids or grandkids in the system or not. We want to do things that reflect well upon Woodward and Woodward values and just things that create school spirit, community spirit, just things that folks are proud of.
Because even the ag pickups, you mentioned that's part of this as well.
Correct.
You know, all my daughters have been involved in ag. That's been an issue at times as well. Folks, if you think that there are employees at Woodward Public Schools that don't work their tail ends off during the summer, I want you to actually shadow some of those guys. Not only Rusty here, but go shadow Caleb, go shadow Rodney, and see what they do during the summer. It is a lot. Now, it is a lot of times for the bus barns to take care of maintenance and things, but there's still a lot of activity going on, is there not?
Yes. Yep. And I think it's more and more, I don't know, just society or parents and want our kids to have opportunities to be involved in things, and we could talk for longer than this show, the benefit of kids being involved in things that in today's world is critical because, you just want to keep kids active, keep kids engaged. And, a lot of those things take place in the summertime or, just you're talking about ag teachers. You've got OYE going on last week or part of last week. That, whether it's not just ag teachers. It's it's a lot of the sponsors of those activities that do summertime stuff and stuff over the break that to give our kids opportunities to be involved in things.
Yeah, because I could only imagine the miles that they put on vehicles last week shuttling livestock back and forth, because it changes day to day. And, one of the other things that I've heard as well, that's a little bit discerning to me is when people say, well, I didn't have that when I was going to school. Why do they need that? Why do they need these nice buses? Why does that need to happen? Well, a lot of times my retort is, as I say, well, you didn't have a cell phone before. Well, we used to dial the operator to connect me to someone 3 blocks down on a phone. You used to use a manual typewriter. Times are changing, things are evolving, but it's really it's not about these extremely nice buses. It's about these buses that can protect our children to get people from point A to point B safely.
Yeah, and I would just say this, and I've mentioned this at several of places that I've spoke about it. Northwest Oklahoma is home to me, and if I have anything to do with it, always will be. One of the disadvantages of living in this part of the world is that if you want to be involved in activities, if you want to do things, if you want to take kids on a field trip to the zoo, I could keep going on with examples. Travel is required. And
especially when you live here, like you said. Yep.
And that's just a piece of it. We ask a lot of kids that if we want to take them to a ball game or to a band competition or to speech contest on a weeknight, that we have to travel 2+ hours one way to get there. First of all, we want to be confident that we can get them there and get them home, but I think we want to do that in a way that when they go to school the next day that they're ready to learn.
Yep. One of the things I thought about when I thought about buses breaking down and in a bad situation, I don't know how many people have traveled to Stillwater, Oklahoma on Highway 51, but if you are on that wrong side of Highway 51, there's not much of a shoulder. If a situation like that occurs, that's one of the biggest nightmares as a parent, in my opinion, thinking of things. Because Oklahoma, yes, we do have a great ODOT crew, shout out John Logan, but sometimes, it can be an issue. So
you're right. If you do have a bus that's broke down, being on the side of the road is not a good thing, but it's certainly better than being in the road.
No question. No question. So anything else that you want to throw out there to talk about everything? I thought I would ask the weird things, that you get, because I think you get to go on tomorrow as well with Brett. So he'll be a little bit more reserved, but he'll probably be just as passionate as well, I'd imagine. I'm
interested in your weird things or your weird questions. I don't know where I didn't know where we were headed with that.
The thing is we as dads and we as in administration, if you don't think that people care about your kids, you're way wrong, because they are just like our kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I would say that's one of the beautiful things about Northwest Oklahoma or small towns is you do have a community helping you raise your kids. And I just see this bond issue specifically an opportunity to help do that. We didn't dive into, over the last few years, we've had an increase in maintenance and repair costs of trying to keep buses on the road and going. You get to the point where you're spending money on old buses that are not worth what you're putting into them, but you don't have an option. And I guess the thing that I would want people to understand is there's not a magic bucket of money that's got a transportation cost labeled on it. that's general operating money that has to come from somewhere. So that's money that could be spent in the classroom, could be spent on textbooks, could be spent on another teacher, another program, could be spent in any way to help kids. So this is a bond issue that's just about transportation cost, but it does affect everything. It does.
Well, I thank you for your time. We got to wrap up here. Like I said, we could speak forever, but one more question. Transportation to and from school required by state law?
No.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
So there is some reimbursement money for kids that you transport more than 1.5 miles, but it is not required by state law. But
so that's once again that is a little bit different than what Woodward. I know. So yeah. Well, thank you for your time. I wish we had more time, but
Taylor, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate all the things that High Plains does to support our Woodward kids. And
thanks for being the first one to take me up on the offer. I don't know if anybody else
I
will.
just want to keep the bar low, so whoever's
exactly.
next, it won't be too challenging. But I would certainly be open to coming back to talk about something else in the future. So.
Okay, awesome. We'll have you back.
All right.
Done deal. All right, everybody have a great morning.
Thanks.